Yes, hello students. Yesterday we have completed the introduction, meaning, definition, that is concept of planning and characteristics of planning, right. In this lecture we are going to learn importance of planning and limitations of planning. Okay, from this third chapter there will that 5 marks of a question that is asked, right. So it can be anything like characteristics of planning, limitations of planning, or importance of planning. Okay, so starting with the importance of planning first, that is all activities are done in a systematical way. Now understand that when everything that is planned, right, that who is going to perform which task up to what limit or what kind of that amount of effort that will be needed by an individual person, right, everything is decided. So each and every activity in the management, in the business unit or that company, right, that goes under what, that goes under in a systematical manner, right. Then wastage of resources can be avoided. Now when I say resources, that means man and a material, right, that who is going to perform which task, in what quantity, that the raw material is going to be required, right, everything that will be what, everything that is planned. That suppose for an example, that a person who is having a knowledge or experience of a production department, then he will be what, he will be handling the department of production, that is planning, right. So the wastages that cannot be there, that person is what, that person is well known with that activity, each and every production activity, right, no expenditure that will be done for the training purpose. So that time that can be saved, money that can be saved, and resources, that is material, that can also be saved. Then planning reduces the future uncertainty. See, future is full of uncertainties, right, and when we talk about uncertainty, that means that return that is not fixed. But a person cannot remove the risk, that remove the uncertainty, but they can what, they can reduce the consequences that they are going to suffer in future period of time. Then planning leads to precision. Now what is precision? Precision, that means that accuracy, right, that near to things that which are accurate, that whatever the thing, that vision that are clear, that person they are going to assume okay, yes, these things can happen in future, so accordingly they are going to make plan, accordingly they are going to make that systematical planning, so that the consequences that can what, that can be reduced. Then useful for the accomplishment of objectives. See, that management function, it starts with the planning, but for what purpose management or the managerial functions that are going to come into existence, that is to accomplish what, to accomplish the objective. So planning is the first step towards what, towards the achievement of the objective. Then smoothness in other managerial functions. See, planning is the base, right, that we have seen in the first chapter also, yesterday also we have seen, right, in the characteristics, that planning is what, planning is the base. So on the basis of planning, all the other functions like organization, staffing, directing, controlling, everything that will be what, everything that will be done accordingly in manner with what, in manner with the planning. Then planning increases employees cooperation. See, when the clarity of role it will be there, okay, suppose for an example, I am teaching this OCM, that Mitesh sir is going to teach economics, right, that yes, we have that clarity of role, okay, I am going to teach OCM, that Mitesh sir is going to teach economics, right. So there will be what, there will be no kind of chaos, there will be no kind of confusion, right, we are going to cooperate with each other because our subjects are different, right, or else the subjects are same and we have decided about what, that yes, the planning that has been done, okay, first 4 chapters that will be done by me, other 4 chapters that will be done by him. So that cooperation that is going to what, cooperation that is going to increase, and ultimately due to cooperation, coordination can be achieved successfully, right. Then effective control becomes possible. See, what we are doing in planning, that in planning we are setting at parameters, some targets, right, that some that performance measures it will be there. So accordingly, that yes, the performance that has been there with the proper planning or not, that can what, that can become possible. Control it can be there, okay, yes, you need to complete 4 chapters within 1 month, that yes, that is what, that you can put control over it, okay, yeah, unnecessary free periods it will not be given. Same way in the business objective, like suppose for an example, a person is given a target, that is for the first 3 months you are going to produce at least 500 number of units, so that unnecessary movement of that person that will be reduced, right, a proper timing that can be managed, okay. So what will happen, that is there will be what, there will be effective control that can become possible when you have that target in your mind, right, when you have that proper plan in your mind, then accordingly you can what, you can control yourself, okay. Then planning coordinates various activities. See, there will be so many activities in a single business or a business unit. Like suppose for an example that production department, sales department, marketing department, right? Each and every department they are performing so many number of activities, right? But due to proper planning, it is going to coordinate the effort of all the activities. Like that production department, they are going to perform, or they are going to have that activity of the related to production department. Marketing, they are going to relate that department. Getting my point, right? So due to planning, what we can achieve the goal easily, as well as we can coordinate the efforts of the human resource and the material. That we can reduce the wastages of that, and we can prepare for the, suppose that uncertainty that is going to prevail. So what we are going to do, we are planning, we are having that particular thing in our mind. Okay, yes, I have an idea. Okay, we will not be having that school in the next 1 month, that is the June month. So what we are doing, we have started that accordingly, that online teaching that is there, so that our time can be saved. Okay, right? Then moving ahead to the limitations of planning. See, planning, it is done by whom? Planning, it is done by the expert person, right? And it is, as I said, right, it is completely based on the assumptions, that is estimation, that this thing can happen in future. It is not fixed, it will happen. Future is uncertain, it is not fixed, and nothing is fixed, right? So sometimes it happens if planning that tends to fail. But now what are the reasons for that? So we are going to have that limitation. First, that is uncertain future. See, that we have seen that in the characteristics, that planning, it is based on what? It is based on the assumption, it is based on the estimations, right? And we know that assumption, they are not accurate, they are not the correct one. Okay, I am assuming from the July month that school will reopen. That is the one kind of assumption that I am doing, right? It is not fixed. Okay, yeah, the school is going to open. Or suppose that businessman, he is having that particular mind assumption, he is assuming for next year, suppose for an example, that new financial year that has been started in the month of April, right? But due to the situation of this unavoidable situation like this, that due to COVID-19, right, that what people they are doing, what businessmen they are doing, they are not planning anything, because anything can happen, right? If that lockdown that reoccurs, obviously they are going to be failure, right? So when a person starts planning, start assuming, but it is not on an accurate basis, or whatever the data that he is going to collect, on that manner they are going to decide the strategy, decide the planning, right? But assumption, they are not clear, they are not the specific or exact thing, right? So uncertainty, they are going to prevail. Okay, suppose I am assuming as a businessman I am going to earn at least 5 crore of net profit in the coming year, but it is an assumption, right? And now due to any condition like policy changes, technological changes, right, anything that can happen, so my assumption, that was not accurate, that was not correct, right? For assuming near to that accuracy, that I need to have that vision in my mind, I need to have that experience, knowledge, that I have that particular specific skill to analyze the statistical data which I will be having with me, right? So that is uncertain future, that is the main thing that can lead to the failing in the planning, right? Then second, it is an expensive process. Now why it is expensive process? Experts, they will be involved, right? Like the person who will be involving in the KPO, that is knowledge process outsourcing, that we have seen in the 11th standard, right? They will be they will be hired, they will be invited for the what purpose? Yes, you please come, you plan accordingly and give us the idea that how we can do, or how we can frame the policies, rules and regulations for our company or for our business unit, right? So obviously they are not going to come free of cost. Okay, so what will be the outcome? Outcome is simple. Okay, we need to pay them what? That businessman, a person who is going to start the business, he need to pay the higher amount of fees to them, right? And it consuming time, energy and money. And if planning is irrelevant, planning is failed, then obviously all this cost that is going to fail, right? So that is why it is an expensive process. Then it is time consuming. Now why it is time consuming? That when you start planning, right, you need to collect the information, you need to collect the statistical data of the past years, right? You need to collect the data, you need to analyze the data, and then you are going to start planning. So obviously it is a time consuming process, right? And after all these things, you need to list out the various alternatives. It must be more than number, that in a single number, right? Like one plan, that is not the alternative that we are going to think, right? That if we have seen the example of that increasing the sales with the sales promotion technique, right? So what you can do, you can either have that particular advertisement cost, you can increase the advertisement, or you can have that particular uh, discount or anything that you need to give, right? So you need to list out the alternatives also. Now when you are going to list out the alternatives, obviously you need to analyze those alternatives also, right? And which one is the best one, right? And accordingly you need to take the decision. And if in that also you failed as a businessman in selecting that idea, obviously that is going to be a failure. Then planning is irrelevant. See, maximum changes that are occurring into the external factors, right, which are totally out of control of the business unit, like technological change, government changes, some strategic change, the taste and preferences of a consumer, that is going to change, right? So in those circumstances planning become irrelevant, right? Whatever you have planned, that is completely go in a fail, right? Suppose that I'm planning to start my own something, like I'm going to start a business from the month of April, but due to the lockdown, that whatever I have planned, that is completely become irrelevant, right? Because I'm not having that freedom, I'm not having that liberty to start that particular business, okay, right? Then it tends towards rigidity. Now understand how it leads to rigidity. See, we have seen in the characteristic that flexibility, that is the precondition for the planning, right? It is essential, it is necessary. But how it tends to rigidity? Sometimes that some situation that can occur in front of managers, right? Like they are not going to have that proper implementation of plan, and situation can get worse. Now they are going to have that fear in their mind. What kind of fear that they are going to have? Fear of what? Fear of losing or getting a loss much more higher than the current one, right? Like suppose they have started to doing a production like 500 unit per month, right? Now due to this situation, like that worst situation, like they are not having that particular skilled manpower, they are not going to have that finance, anything that can be there, right? They are not able to target this 500 number of units. So what they are going to do, they are going to that tend towards the rigidity. They are not going to change their plan, right? They are not going to, that 500 units, that is not possible, so let's reduce it. No, they are not going to do that. Why? Because it will impact their performance, and they need to have that particular fear of that thing. If I'm going to do that thing, suppose for an example, I'm going to change my plan, and if that also failed, then their questions, it will be arise on what? On the capability, on the skill of whom? Of the manager. See, just understand this thing, that employees, this thing, that is managers or employees, do not take the risk of deviating from the plan, right? That one word is missing. They do not take the risk of deviating from the plan, right? They are going to stick that the particular plan during the implementation, whatever that is in the beginning that they have done, okay, right? Because that when you fail, right, as a manager, so you will be what you either to go to change a particular plan. What you are going to do, you are going to stick to that plan, and ultimately that will cost what? That will cost the business unit, right? So sometimes planning tends towards the rigidity. Then uncertainty of the external factors like change in the government policy, change of technology, change in the taste and the preferences of the consumer, anything it can be there, right? So uncertainty that prevails, right, in the external factors, and these external factors, they are always keep on changing. See, consumer, they are going to change the demand. Technology, that is always keep on changing every 3 months, 6 months, or 9 months. The behavior of the humans, they are also going to change. Humans, that means the customers, right? Now the current product is in demand, but after 3 months it cannot be. Getting my point, right? So this uncertainty of external factors, that is going to impact the business unit the most, right? See, internal factors like employees, owners, and they can control, they have some sort of control over it, but external factors they cannot control, right? Some legal provisions that are going to be changed, some policy decision of the government that is going to change, right? Ultimately it will cost what? It will cost to the failure of planning, okay, right? Then incomplete information. See, planning is done on the that past statistical data, right? Now some incomplete information, wrong information, that is going to what? That is going to impact the planning in future, right? Whatever the information that you have got, that is completely wrong, then whatever the things that you are going to assume for the future, that is also going to what? That is also going to be wrong. And that proper source of the gathering the information, that must be what, that must be accurate, that must be relatable, that must be what, that must be have that source ke yes, we can what, we can much more depend on it. Okay, right? So incomplete information, wrong information, unclear things, right, that is going to what, that is going to impact the business unit. Fine. Then restriction on employees creativity. See, we can relate this point to that particular thing, that it tends towards what, it tends towards the rigidity, right? Planning tends towards the rigidity. Now why it tends to rigidity? See, every employee, they have what, they have their own skill, they have that creativity, that they are going to do, or they are going to perform the task with another way, in less cost and in a proper and efficient way. But as the managers or the business unit, what they are going to do, they are going to put some sort of restriction over employees. No, you need to follow the plan that has been made by the top level management. There will be no change, there will be no flexibility, it will be there, right? So it restricts what, it restricts the employees creativity. Employees, they are not going to perform the task as per their skill, as per their knowledge. Whatever that has been instructed, they are going to follow, right? Yes, they can what, they can complete the task, right? But as per the instruction that is given by top level management, right? And this, they cannot make change, any change in the planning. Why? Because planning that has been done by whom? That has been done by the top level management. Okay, right? Then use of faulty methods. See, whatever the data that you are going to get, and that past statistical data, right, it will be analyzed with the statistical tool or with the statistical methods, right? But use of faulty methods, that is going to what, that is going to impact the business. Use of faulty method will give the that false result, right, or a wrong result, and ultimately whatever the plan that you are going to make for the future period of time, that is not going to be accurate, or that is not going to be worthwhile, right? And the methods or the information that are not appropriate, obviously that whatever the decision that you are going to take as a manager in the future period of time, that is going to what, that is going to be wrong, right? Apart from this, there are other changes, like changes in technology, right? As I said, technology that is always keep on changing. Prejudice of a planner, that sometimes the favoritism, it will be there, or some kind of that prejudice. Prejudice, that means what, like he is having that particular thing, this person is not going to perform the task, this person is not giving me as a manager, as a superior, he is not giving me the respect, that person is not talking to me well, everything it will be there, right? So that prejudice, that is going to what, that is going to impact planning. Ignorance of facts, like in the past data, whatever the things that will be included, they are not going to perform, or they are not going to have that particular idea, clear cut idea, then ultimately it is planning that is going to what, that is going to be fail. And last but not the least, that is problem in leadership. See, leadership, it is the one thing, right, that which manager that are going, they need to prove, okay, yes, we can do something as a team, right? But when the leadership skill that fails, obviously it is going to what, it is going to impact the business unit, it is going to impact the planning can become rigid, or planning can become failure, right? Okay, so that's it for today. I'm repeatedly telling you guys that you need to go through the whole video, that's it, you don't have any option, right? Whatever we are doing here, that is completely the online education. Understand this thing, that whatever the things that has been taught in the classroom, we are doing it here, right? It is not in our hand that to start the school or whatever, right? You need to understand that this is the way that we are going to proceed, right? Many of you have not given the test that I have taken, right? Only around 55 students are there, right? I have that list, I'm going to call your parents, that is there, right? And if this video that has been not been seen by anyone, right, I have that count in my mind, right, and almost we are a 55 and a 46, that is around 101 students, right, and the views, they are only about 39. What nonsense is this, right? You need to get it, right? You need to go through it,